Hey guys, Sarah with UT Extension in Cotton County here, and I wanted to take a minute to talk about one of the plant diseases that we see pretty common throughout the summer in our gardens, and that is blossom end rot. So blossom end rot affects tomatoes, peppers, and watermelons primarily. And blossom end rot is not a bacteria or a fungi. Blossom end rot is actually a calcium deficiency. In most cases, what's causing this calcium deficiency is lack of irrigation or lack of water or inconsistent watering for those tomatoes and pepper plants, and that's what's causing this, because in most cases we have plenty of calcium in the soil, but it's not available and it's not being moved up into those plants like we need it to be to prevent blossom end rot. So calcium is used as a cell wall, cell structure component. So it helps build the stems of those tomato plants, the leaves, and then it also aids in the building of the cells that create the tomato. Because of that, the plant needs a large quantity of it. And there are things that we can do as home gardeners that will encourage the plant to have plenty of calcium, and there's also things that we might be doing unknowingly that would cause a deficiency of calcium. The first thing, of course, is not watering enough or not watering on a regular basis. So that's the first step to take if you see blossom end rot in your garden, is to make sure that you're watering regularly and you're watering in a fashion that allows that plant to get plenty of moisture and move that calcium that's located in the soil up through the plant. Another thing that we might unknowingly be doing that could be contributing to blossom end rot is over-fertilization. Everybody wants to put Miracle-Gro or Triple 19 fertilizer on their garden because they want them to grow big and healthy and strong. And that's great. But if we over-fertilize, what we see really lush, really leafy tomato plants that look beautiful, but that either don't set fruit because they have too much nitrogen, or they set fruit and then we see blossom end rot because the calcium that's being taken up by that plant is being used to build stems and leaves and not being used for fruit set. So fertilization is good, over fertilization not good. Okay? Another thing we might unknowingly be doing that could be contributing to blossom end rot is treating our garden with Epsom salt. So there are lots of people out there who have lots of ideas about what we can do to use natural additives to our garden to get away from pesticides and herbicides, and that's fine. But if we're using Epsom salt as a potential treatment or with our tomatoes, what we're doing is we're actually adding magnesium to the soil, and magnesium kind of butts heads with calcium. So if we're adding Epsom salts around our tomatoes, we're actually forcing that plant to compete and choose whether it takes up magnesium or whether it takes up calcium. And magnesium is more readily available than calcium is naturally. So what we see happen is even if there is calcium in the soil, we don't see the plant uptaking that calcium, which is what it needs to not have blossom end rot and to set a good solid fruit for us to enjoy tomatoes throughout the summer. So if you're using Epsom salts, I encourage you to maybe reduce that or take that away. A lot of people will dissolve that into the water that they use to water their garden with. I would caution you to reduce that if you start seeing blossom end rot because it's competing with the calcium that plant needs. Okay? And lastly, if we still see blossom end rot and we know we've been doing a good job of irrigating, we haven't over fertilized and we're not using Epsom salts, but we still are seeing blossom end rot, that's an indicator that there's a lack of calcium in the soil. And what we can do there are foliar sprays that can be picked up at any local hardware home and garden center. And we can mix those up according to the label instructions, and we can spray that plant on a regular basis while it's setting fruit to make sure that it has the calcium that it needs to avoid blossom end rot. If you are curious to know whether or not you are seeing blossom end rot in your garden this summer, by all means take some pictures, text them to us, email them to us. You can bring samples by the office, call in and ask us, email us with questions, reach out to us on Facebook. We're here to help. We want you to have successful gardens this summer, and anything we can do to help that, we'll be happy to share our knowledge with you.